Hello everyone, David Seven Skies here. It's been a long time since my last video. I think over a year. It's been really busy, there's been some changes. The studio's still the same for now, but you know, long story, personal stuff as well. Anyway, I'm here. So, why am I here today? Well, because, of course, yeah, I need a video on YouTube. I mean, you guys love me, so I need to give you some videos, I know, right? Lately, well, not lately, ever since I started making music and posting video, I've got the same question over and over, which is, what did you use? What do you use? What's your setup? What's blah 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 blah? And every time I post a picture of my studio on Facebook, I say, what are those speakers? Oh, what's the name of this thing? What's that? And blah 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 blah. And you know, I always try to reply, but someone is always missing my replies and stuff. So I thought, like, let's make a video. So every time someone is like, what is this? I can post a link to this video and you can watch the whole Seven Skies studio setup. Yeah, this is how the video is gonna be called. So yeah, what do I have here? As you can see, I'm in a pretty shitty room because if I do this, there's a horrible reverberation. But I've been here for at least like 11 years and now I know the room, but I'm designing a new studio, which is just like a few meters away from this studio, which is gonna be awesome with a spectacular view. Maybe I'll put some picture in this video. I'll edit some picture over it. And yeah, so yeah, this room is pretty shitty, and it's really not like a really professional environment, but you know, you gotta, I mean, DJs nowadays make music at in airports, so I still have a little bit of a studio. And yeah, well, what do we have here? This is the setup. Everything is run by MacBook Pro Retina display. And you're probably like, oh, you're using a laptop? How do you do this whole thing? Yeah, I'm using a laptop, and yeah, this project is one of my new tracks, and it has 179 channels. Yeah, I would say it's running pretty well. It's smooth, doesn't really have any problem running this project, so I would say a laptop can really work for you if you're like, oh, I want to buy a laptop, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do because I need power, blah 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 blah. If you buy a Retina display, there's enough power for you to run a freaking huge project. So yeah, I think this is the top of the line. It's a 2.7 gigahertz. 16 gigabytes of RAM and 500 megabytes of SSD hard disk, which rocks. So yeah, it's a bit pricey, but I mean, it's totally worth it. Then yeah, I mean, the laptop is over there. That's everything. That's where everything is done. But for the sake of comfort, I got a bigger screen, and you know, at least I can have this part that actually looks like a decent studio, and then there's that part that looks like a shit studio. And so yeah, it's just, I never put that thing on picture, even though now you can see it. So yeah, laptop, and everything is connected to it. Projects over here, and then we have all these funny things with lights and egg-shaped speakers. What are those egg-shaped speakers? What are those egg-shaped speakers? Are called the eggs. Yeah, they didn't really have much creativity when they gave the name, but I mean, they are eggs. So what are they? Well, they are a new kind of concept of speakers, and the new kind of concept, what I mean is that they do this egg shape shelf over here because the egg technically remove internal resonances for sound. So what you get is a really clean, especially bottom end, because the best thing of this speakers is the actual, it's the bottom part of the sound, the low frequency basically. And what you get is a really clean and precise bottom end from those speakers. And the mid range and the high are pretty good as well. But I mean, the part where they shine is definitely the low end. They're done by SE Electronic, and I don't remember the name, but it's Munro guy. It's the same guy who designed Dyne Audio, if I'm not mistaken. They are pretty expensive. I think they're like 2,000 euros or something like that. But I mean, they're pretty good. You can get something cheaper that is still pretty good. This are a little bit of a different technology, so you kind of pay for it. But yeah, they're pretty good. I would recommend them if you have like some money to spend. I've been saving to buy some decent speakers for 10 years, so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna buy something pretty cool. But if you have limited budget, I mean, KRK do the job, and they're not the best speakers, but I met so many producers that actually make tracks with KRK, so they're good. They're good enough. Then yeah, the particular thing of these speakers is that they have a external amplify. They are technically still active monitors, but they have the amplifier outside the shelf, the egg, so that they could have like a better resonance response. If they took off all the electronic, they could focus more on the design, on the internal design, and get rid of all the resonances, and so to have a really clean sound. But this is engineer stuff. I don't really know how it works. Then yeah, you're probably wondering, where are those amazing lights from? Those amazing lights, I actually got this question like I don't even know how many times. Yeah, those lights, they're amazing because they're kind of entertain you eventually when you don't have inspiration. They're from IKEA. They cost 30 euros. I don't even know what they're called, but yeah, IKEA. If you want those lights, IKEA is the place to be. It's the place to go. I just stuck them behind the monitor, and they reflect on the wall, and they create this beautiful halo, and that's it. Nothing special really. Then what we have the Access Virus TI. This is the Snow version. I kind of hate and love this synthesizer because it's amazing. There's nothing that sounds like it, literally like nothing. But at the same time, this little motherfucker here is always out of sync. There's always problem. Sometimes it just does what it wants, and it's really annoying. But at the same time, it's so worth it because the sound that comes out of it, it's so good. I'm doing a new track right now where I'm only using, we're kind of using mostly hardwares, and everyone who's listening to it, they're like, holy shit, this track sounds like so good and so different. Like the sound is different, and yeah, that's why. Everything is from the Virus and all the other synths over here that I'm going to explain in a second. So yeah, once again, it's one of those things that maybe if you have some extra money you can buy. It's not one of those things that you can't live without, but at the same time it's one of those things that actually makes the difference if you know how to use it, because I know a lot of people that have it but don't really know how to use it, so it's kind of pointless. They still open Silent and they're like, oh yeah, I like Silent better. The Silent is pretty cool, Massive is pretty cool, Strobe is pretty cool, all the VSTs are pretty cool, but this little thing here, it's cooler. It doesn't work better, it actually works pretty bad, because yeah, I told you, out of sync all the time and all that shit, but the sound is amazing. Yeah, now we go to this other little guy. This other little guy is the Moog Minotaur, and what the Moog Minotaur does is one sound. that then you can modulate and blah blah blah, and it becomes like 5. I don't know, but it does like really few sounds. It only has like low note octave, so if you play something which is kind of high in pitch, it won't even play it because it's been thought to be some kind of a bass machine. It also here says Minotaur analog bass synthesizer, and yeah, that's what it's for. It has 2 oscillators, and each oscillator has 2 waveforms, which is saw and square, and that's all it does. You can mix them together, you know, combine different volume, different octaves, and the thing is, this thing is amazing. It gives you some of the best bass sound that you'll ever hear. There's no VST that will ever get close to what that thing does, and that thing goes pretty low in terms of low end, and it's pretty aggressive. There's one thing that a lot of people don't actually know, but behind that little thing there's a jack, input and output, and what you can do is basically route the signal out from the synthesizer and back to the synthesizer, and you can overdrive it, and by doing that you can basically create a distortion inside the synthesizer without any effect and stuff, and what you get is a pure analog distortion that's freaking amazing. And yeah, I do that all the time. The good thing of both these hardwares, the Virus TI and the Moog, is that they have an internal software that works as a VST. Actually, this one just released the plugin version, so I can control my plugin from my DAW. We're gonna go into the DAW in 1 second. And it's pretty awesome because I can put automation and control everything that I want from the computer without having to, you know, manually do stuff. And I mean, yeah, the good thing of hardware sometimes is that you can actually manually change the sound, and that's pretty good. But you know, when you're making a track and you need the cutoff to open in a really precise way, you can't do it manually. You need to kind of draw points, and that's why the software inside the computer is pretty good to, you know, make precise automation stuff and all the kind of thing like that. You can do it with every synthesizer over here, but with those synthesizers you can only do it with MIDI parameters, which is not really graphical. You need to know a little bit of MIDI, and you need to know the mapping, the MIDI mapping of all those things. But yeah, with those things, with these two, you can just say, hi, I want to automate the filter, and you know, you click and you automate it, and it's done. So now the DAW. What's the DAW? The DAW is the software that you use to, you know, get all those blocks with sounds and samples and stuff, and you make music. Well, in this case, I use, probably everyone knows what I use, but whatever. I still get on Facebook like, what is that software? Is that Fruity Loops? No, it's not Fruity Loops. It's Logic. Logic 10, which is, yeah, it's a little bit of a love-hate relationship with that thing as well, because Logic kind of sucks, but it kind of is awesome at the same time. So I'm still like, I'm working on a few tracks with Ableton Live, but I don't feel it. I mean, you know, as I said, this track has 176 channels, and with Logic it's kind of easier for me to manage all those sounds. With Live, it's a mess. The whole zooming thing, it's really complicated. It doesn't really work for me. What I do love about Live is that you can group stuff so easily, and maybe you have like 100 tracks and you can group them into like 8 channels, and that's pretty good. You can do this with the new Logic 10 as well, but it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, and it has bugs and stuff, and it doesn't really work as good as Live. But you know, for me, Logic, since I'm a pretty good Logic user, for me Logic has really few secrets, and I can put down a track really fast. At least the arrangement and all the ideas, I can get it done in like an hour or something, and then from there, of course, you need to fine-tune and stuff. So yeah, can take me up to 3 months to make a track, or sometimes even a year. But you know, the first structure of the track with Logic 10, I can put it down in really a few hours. And you know, I've been using Logic 10 for 10 years, I guess, like ever since I moved to this room. No, maybe not ever since then, but about 7-8 years. And I just surf in that software like, you know, like it's my freaking pocket. And so it's kind of really hard to jump on some other software to learning everything from scratch again. So yeah, Logic 10 for me. It's not the best software, but you know, there's no best software actually. The best software is what can get you to do stuff really quickly and really easily. And Logic 10 does it for me. Sometimes it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but every software is in a way or another. Right, then we have the keyboard. This master keyboard doesn't do anything but pressing buttons. There's a controller thingy here that I think I used 4 times in my whole life. So yeah, I could have just bought one of those silver M Audio and that would have been good enough. But you know, this was a gift from my family when I graduated from university, so it was like, yeah, okay, it's a gift, I'm gonna pick the expensive one. So yeah, this is an Axiom 61. So it has 61 keys, a bunch of controllers that I never even dug into. You have the pads over here to play drums if you want. I think I used 4 times as well when I tried to use these. I also tried to use this. Yeah, so this is what I write all the things and put down the basic stuff. And then I have more keyboards, as you can see here. And these are actually like holy grail of synthesis of electronic music. And each synth here has, you know, has shaped some kind of genre in EDM. We have this blue one here, which is the JP8000, and the JP8000 became famous in the, I think it's from 98 or early 2000, and it was, you know, it had this thing, this waveform, which was called the Super So. And the Super So turned out to be that kind of sound, the wave that shaped trance music. So yeah, basically all the early trance from like 2000s, for example, Rank 1 early tracks, all those like Airwave from Rank 1 and stuff, those were done thanks to that synthesizer. It had that really rich and big so sounds, really detuned so sound, and that's where it comes from. And yeah, it's still pretty good. It's still, like, I still use it. It's one of those synths that still makes a difference. It has that particular sound. Silent and a few other synthesizers try to emulate it, but it's not quite the same thing. Then we have the Roland Alpha Juno 2, and that is well, that is something. That's history, actually. That's more of a history than the JP8000. This Juno 2 kind of shaped and created the whole sound of hardcore and early rave back in the 90s. If you know the track called Dominator, yeah, that's where the synth comes from. Actually, let me try and... Yeah, that's what it does. It's evil. It's a mean synthesizer. It's so aggressive. It's freaking awesome. Do I use it? Yes. I'm kind of trying to use it more often in my latest tracks. Because, you know, all those EDM tracks, they have like kind of old school sounds. And this thing is what actually can make the difference in nowadays music. Because you can get some really nice sounds out of it. And there's really nothing in virtual VST, that can actually do that sound. I mean, something get close to, but the chorus in that synthesizer is something special, and it's something that only is in that synthesizer. So not many plugins can actually recreate that thing in the exact way. So yeah, no, you gotta buy the real thing. I don't think it's that expensive either. I think it's like 300 euros, 300 bucks on eBay or something like that. It's not much. What's really expensive, it's that other guy over there, which I don't even really use. That thing is a Korg MS-20, and it's not the Korg MS-20 micro that Korg released last year, which is the same thing but with MIDI mapping and all that stuff. No, that thing is from 1978, so it's older than me by like 7 years. It's a great machine, 100% analog sound. It doesn't even have MIDI, so I needed this box over here, to control the MIDI and be able to play that synthesizer from the computer. Basically what it does, there's this system control called CV, control voltage, basically. And what it does is that basically it translates the MIDI signal into actual electricity, and if you patch it right, you can actually play the synthesizer. So they're a bit of a pain in the ass, and to be honest, I have the Moog that's already pretty good with bass sounds, so I don't really use it that often. But if I'm doing like samples or crazy sound, I turn it on because the filter on that thing is pretty damn good. It's really aggressive, really crunchy. It sounds pretty well. Then what do I have as a sound card? Well, as a sound card, I have UAD Apollo 2, or whatever it's called. It's a UAD 2 Apollo or whatever. It's a UAD Apollo with 2 cores. That's another really expensive thing. It's actually the last thing that I bought, if you don't consider all the plugins. It goes around 2,500 or 2,000 euros. It's really expensive, and you know, right now I had to buy that one because, you know, I have all this synthesizer and they all have to go inside that one, and then from there they go inside the computer. So I needed a lot of inputs, and so I needed that expensive one. But UAD right now just released the Apollo Twin. Yeah, I think it's called Apollo Twin, which is the exact same thing of the one that I have, but it has less inputs. It does have 2 CPUs, 2 cores. So yeah, it's the same thing, but instead of being like this big, it's this big. And it costs half minus something else. I think it's like 600, 700 bucks. Totally worth it. I had friends that are like, you know, I always have friends that are kind of like trying to, you know, put me down for the decision I make, and then this stuff I buy, like, do you really need that thing? Like, oh, it's expensive, do you really need it? Do you really need a UAD? No, you can do whatever you want with Wave plugins, or you can do it with Logic plugins, or, you know, everything. But then, you know, I finished a new track and I sent it over to my friend, and they were like, holy crap, this thing sounds like it's amazing. Like, you know, when I was talking about the virus. And yeah, I was like, my answer was like, yeah, this is what the UAD does. It makes the difference. It makes a slight difference on your tracks. But, you know, slight difference plus slight difference plus slight difference, it's a lot of difference. So if you want to sound different, I'm not saying different like, oh, everyone is doing 128 BPM, I'm gonna do 126. That's not the difference I make. I mean, if you want to sound different sonically, you know, there's a few things that help. Hardware synthesizer, better audio processing like the UAD, using kind of better coded equalizer as opposed to the Logic default equalizer or Cubase default equalizer. For as good as they are, but I mean, there are companies that focus their attention only on coding an EQ or a compressor and all that kind of stuff. So, of course they're gonna be better, but not because these things are shit. It's just because the Logic team focused on creating, what, 50 different effects and then a whole DAW that records, that edits audio and all that stuff, so they cannot concentrate only on a single thing. And, you know, on the other hand, you have developers that, you know, they concentrate only on creating an EQ or a compressor and stuff, and of course that sounds a little bit better. With the UAD, what happens is that the UAD has cores, CPUs, outside the computer. So that sound card over there has a CPU, 2 CPUs inside, and all the plugins from UAD are not processed by the computer, but are processed from the sound card. So you can crank up the calculation on that CPUs, because the computer is already doing, like, you know, it's managing the operating system, it's managing Logic, it's managing all the synthesizers that you have open, it's managing Skype, Facebook, or, you know, browser, all that kind of stuff. It's all loaded into the computer CPU. Well, if you have something else that take care of the plugin itself somewhere else, well, you can give more power of processing and calculation to that single plugin. And that's why the UAD is pretty cool, because it can do that. And, you know, the quality of those things are freaking awesome. Like, yeah, they are incredible. Then what do we have? Of course, we have the plugin. And what are my favorite plugins? Well, my favorite plugins are definitely Silent, Strobe, absolutely. Massive, I use it not too much, but I use it. I recently discovered Spire, which is pretty good actually. I wasn't really sold on it because the problem is that I was trying to get the same sound as Silent. Everyone was telling me, oh, you know, Spire is the new Silent, Spire is the new Silent. So I used it and I was like, well, let's try it out. And, you know, I tried to do the Silent things on Spire, and then I was like, no, I think Silent is better, it's quicker, blah blah blah, so I don't want this synthesizer. Then I was in another studio that were using Spire for other things like basses and stuff like that, and I was like, holy crap, what's this synthesizer? And they were like, oh, this is Spire. And I was like, when I tried it, it wasn't that cool, because, you know, as I said, I was using it mostly to do like big synths and stuff. It's pretty good for big synths and stuff as well. It's probably actually even better than Silent, but I'm still kind of attached to the Silent thing, to the Silent sound, for as much as I don't really super like it. But I discovered that it's awesome for other kind of sounds, and so now I'm in contact with the Revealed guys, which are the developer for Spire, and we're working together on a few sounds. And so yeah, I'm liking it quite a lot now. And then there is another synthesizer that I really like, and I think it's gonna be one of the best synthesizer in the market soon enough, but I cannot tell you what it is because it's not out yet, and yeah, it's not even in beta, to be honest. It's kind of I don't even know what's it called when it's not even in beta. But you know, I'm making the sounds for it. It's gonna be freaking great. It's one of those synthesizers that will be like, you know, people are gonna be like, holy crap, this is a game changer. And yeah, keep an eye on my stuff and stuff. I'll post something about it as soon as I can. Right now, it's just a question mark of what the hell is he talking about. Yeah. So we talked about synthesizer, hardware synthesizer, my DAW, my speakers, my sound card. What do we need to talk about? Well, hard disk. I have a ton of hard disk. This is mostly like old stuff. kind of a backup of all my old stuff and some other not music related stuff, not porn, other stuff. I know you're probably thinking like, oh, the other does music or porn. No, there's photos, not porn photos, but I'm a photography passionate, so I have all the photos here, some old project. Then there's this little guy, which is the Time Machine hard disk. So basically this is connected 24 hours a day to my computer and keeps backing up stuff. Then there's another one over there that's backing up the backup, because I don't want to lose stuff. Of course I use Dropbox, and I kind of need to get my head around buying the year subscription, because, you know, it's kind of cool. You can back up stuff online, and no matter what happens to the whole thing, and you still have your files. Of course I hope I'm not gonna have a fire in here, so technically with a couple of backups plus the original computer I should be fine, but you know, you never know. Yeah, let's not think about that. Then, you know, more hard disk. These are like portable, so I have all my samples here, so that I don't have to destroy my computer memory. Then I have these speakers. These speakers are actually pretty shitty. Well, they're not even that shitty, but of course they're not like comparable to those. These are like iHome something something. They're portable, and the reason as to why I have them is that sometimes, you know, when you're checking a master, it sounds pretty good on these speakers, but you have to realize that people don't have these speakers. You know, they don't listen music through those speakers. I mean, most of the people. Some do, like me, but I am not most of the people. So, you know, people listen to music on laptop or headphones or speakers like this. So I have these speakers so that I can check mastering over there. If I can check if the bottom end is still right, like if you can hear the bass and the kick on those speakers, because of course those are like some of the most important elements in dance tracks, and you know, those little speakers, they're not really good with bass sounds and kicks. So I just have them to make sure that the kick and the bass sticks through really nice, even from those speakers. And you know, if it does, that's pretty good, because it will probably be quite good in every system out there. Then, oh yeah, plugins for like EQ and compression and all that kind of stuff. I do have a lot of UAD stuff. Some of my favorite are the Cambridge EQ, the Fatso Precision Maximizer, the Manly EQ. Those are my favorite when it comes to UAD. Then for other things I use the Equality or Equilibrium. Those are amazing. They're EQ, they're really nice EQs. I'm a big fan of the 1176 compressor. There is one that comes with the UAD, but for that one I kind of like more the Native Instrument one, which is done with Softtube. That's one of the compressors I use the most. Of course the Glue, which is a kind of a recreation of the SSL compressor. I use LFO Tool a lot to do the sidechain thingy. And then, I mean, pretty much it, some wave stuff. I use a lot the Art Acoustic for reverb, but ever since I got it to like a more kind of housey sound, I'm liking the Valhalla room reverb a little bit better, because I think it's better on shorter reverb compared to the Art Acoustic. Art Acoustic is awesome for big and long reverbs. The Valhalla, I think it's a little bit better. It has a better sound when it comes to short reverbs, kind of like 2 or 3 seconds or even 1 second kind of reverb. It's really easy to use. It has a really bad interface, but it's pretty good. I'm using a lot the filter shaper as well. When I don't use LFO Tool, I use the filter shaper. Just, they do different things. They kind of do the same thing, but at the same time they do it differently. So sometimes they go with the LFO Tool, sometimes with the filter shaper. So yeah, that's it. I think I said pretty much everything that's that there is to know about my studio. Oh yeah, if you're wondering what camera I use, I can take a picture of it. Yay, flash. And yeah, it's a D70-100 and I'm using, what's it called? A Zoom H1 microphone to record the voice. And right now I am through a Nikon fisheye, I think it's an 8mm or 10. It's a 10mm f2.8. So yeah, now I literally showed everything I have in this studio. I don't know if you want to know the brand of my shoes or anything like that, but literally I said everything. Yeah, before I go, one last thing. If you are interested on, learning how to program all this stuff, like synthesizer, how to create sounds and how to control all those knobs and what these knobs do, I have a class with Pyramind, Pyramind.com, which is an awesome school in San Francisco. I don't teach in San Francisco. I have a class online, so you can go to Pyramind.com and I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out. Basically, there's me showing you all the tricks with synthesizer, how to get the sound that you might want, like how to get this type of lead or this type of bass and blah 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 blah. It's I think it's like a 20 hours video or something like that. And there's a forum, you can hop and ask question and then I'll answer to all the question that you want. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you there or I'll see you around if I'm playing in your city. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a little long, but can't really take 5 minutes to explain a studio. And yeah, I'll try to be more active. I swear to God, I'll try it. There's a few tracks coming out, so I'll probably do like a screenshot thingy of the tracks like I used to. And yeah, from me, David, Seven Skies, bye bye.